Hello everyone. I'm very pleased, although highly concerned, to appear here posting this video. When I have posted videos on this platform before, it has been to announce to you, those who have taken an interest in reading the books that I've written, to announce a book that I've just published or one that is nearing publication. And indeed, there is one that is at an advanced stage at the moment. However, I appear here today in order to talk about the coronavirus. I'm not doing so because I'm an expert in infectious diseases, let alone this particular one. Rather, I'm doing so merely to add my voice to those other many voices of reason that are providing us with guidelines, encouragement, and ideas as to how to conduct ourselves in the face of this challenge. The first thing I would like to talk about, or the first perspective from which I would like to approach this virus, is the religious one, especially as it applies to our African communities, and in particular the Zimbabwean community. I applaud you, my fellow Africans, for a religious consciousness and a sense of deep spirituality in most of what you do. However, we seem to constantly get into the rut of either being abused or we ourselves abusing religion. With regard to this coronavirus, social media is full of prayers and statements, alleluias and amens, to the effect that, or to words that purport to mean that whatever comes, whatever the hazards of this virus, God has specially protected us. We are guaranteed to be safe. All we need to do is to pray. Ladies and gentlemen, there are many disasters, many illnesses that have affected humanity since time immemorial. We are not the first race to have a religious consciousness. When the early Christians in the 2nd century were killed by Nero in Rome, it was not because they didn't pray to God. When many Irish people perished because of blight and disease that took over their country in the 1830s into the 1840s, it was not because they didn't pray. And all along history, we can look at various instances. Many British people, Christians, were killed by Henry VIII, especially those who were Catholics. it doesn't mean they didn't pray. Archbishop Romero was killed at the altar in El Salvador while celebrating Mass. Yes, indeed, we can take Archbishop Romero, what he did, as courageous and a form of martyrdom. But it is one thing to take such a stance because one is challenging a government, and another thing to be practically suicidal and say, we are going to do nothing about this, all we need to do is to pray. God did not create us with only the spiritual and religious consciousness as the centers of our being. He also gave us minds, which we should put to use. And the sad thing about this whole thing is, while we try to gather in these times when we are discouraged from gathering in groups, we try to gather people to worship and say all we need to do is to pray. 10, 12 years down the line, when those people who are applying their minds to trying to find a cure do find one, we are going to be the happy recipients of those discoveries ourselves. Please, yes, let us use our religious consciousness. Let us treasure and value our religion. But let us not be abused, and let us not abuse it. And some of us have been to school, even up to PhD level. Let us not mistake a heap of certificates, school certificates, to wisdom and understanding. Zimbabweans will recall a whole horde of PhDs gathering some years ago around an ordinary woman being told that diesel was going to flow from a rock. Please let us be aware. Indeed, let us not panic, but let us be aware of the reality of the danger of this virus. Some of us also take the approach that we wait for recommendations and guidelines from governments. But unfortunately, some of our governments are asleep at the job. Because those people, some of them are in those positions, not because they want to do good for society, but all they want is a badge of being in a position of honor. That is all they think about, rather than what the office means in terms of responsibility to society. And some of those leaders, all they care about is what is happening on the stock market. And yet, at the same time, for the stock market to do well, it is on the basis of the good health of the nation you lead. Remember what happened in America, where changes began to happen with regard to the attitude towards this virus, not because the leaders themselves took a proactive stance, but rather ordinary people began to notice the actual danger of the virus. The same happened in Britain. So if you have leaders who are asleep at the job, who are not aware or who do not actually care, take care of yourselves. My father, who is late now, once told the family, when he was asked why he did not go to attend a certain political rally that was held in our local area, his answer was, has that politician ever come to work on my field to ensure that my family is fed and clothed? So let us not wait for certain governments, because some of them are concerned only about themselves. Please, fellow Zimbabweans and fellow Africans, let us value our religion, but let us not be abused by certain pastors and prophets, some who say they foresaw this disease coming and what have you. What does their foreseeing the disease coming have to do with our being safe from it? We need to protect ourselves, we need to protect our families, we need to protect the rest of society. Let us act responsibly and do our part in ensuring that we are safe, our families are safe, our neighborhoods are safe, our nation is safe, the rest of the world is safe. Thank you very much. If you are happy, if you are satisfied, if this message touches you in any way, feel free to subscribe. Thank you very much. Goodbye.